Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon, or at least an hour of your afternoon, with myself and the MCOA team. We are excited to bring you the 5 pillars of brain health. So just a little bit about me. As mentioned, I'm Melody Beach. I have my own HR consulting company, but separate from that, I am also an ARP volunteer for the Speakers Bureau. And what that means is we have presentations that we deliver, and one of them is the 5 pillars of health, 5 pillars of brain health, and that's very passionate to me, so I speak on this behalf. No means am I an expert or a doctor, and these some of the comments and experiences that I share with you are certainly of my own. So I would, all I want to say is don't take that as medical advice. Always seek the medical profession if you're looking to do any changes in your health, diet, etc. In addition to the ARP team, I also am a 50+ job seekers. Some of you may know me from that arena. I speak and deliver presentations to the 50+ community on giving them tips and pointers on how to get back into the workforce. So welcome, and again, I'm glad to be here. My disclaimer, as I've already mentioned, is I am not a physician. I am not a qualified medical provider. Please seek your own medical advice if you're looking to implement any changes in your lifestyles. Let's stop for a moment. Brain health. Brain health is so important to everybody. It has no age boundaries. There is no judgment on that. Anybody can improve their brain health. It doesn't matter when you start. The statistics have found, and medical research has found, that at any age of making steps to change and improve your brain health is going to have perhaps some impact on any diseases or cognitive health that you may have. And we just want you to be aware of it. We want you to be focused on it, and we want people to, actually be reminded of some of the things that they're already doing today, but they just take advantage of it and don't even realize they're doing it. So with that said, we are going to talk about what we call 5 pillars of brain health. We're going to be talking about discover, connect, move, nourish, and relax. Those are the 5 pillars, and we're going to talk about each one of those in little bite-sized chunks. Again, we want to talk about the importance of the brain health, which is up on this slide, because it does improve your life expectancy. It can have an impact on your retirement plans. Let's face it, folks, a lot of us are living longer, and we're working longer, or we're doing things longer, regardless if we're working or not. So our brain is very important, and it's a muscle that you have to keep working, just like the rest of your body. Also with skyrocketing health costs, so if we can improve the brain, help defer any diseases that might be coming, that might be in our genetics, why wouldn't we want to do that? The cost is so outrageous out there, and anything we can delay or defer or improve or put off, why would we do that? And again, as I already mentioned, there are statistics and research out there in the brain community that are showing that the importance of your brain health has an overarching result on your full body, right? So as we talked about, it's the 5 pillars. So discovering, connecting, moving, nourishing, and relaxing that have an impact on our brain. So let's get into those 5 pillars. Here's the first one, discover. Right? So here we're going to talk about what we're doing to exercise the brain, right? Whether you know it or not, hopefully you're doing this in your day-to-day activities. And yes, we've got some bullets up here on the screen. Feel free to take a picture of it or take notes. But the point is that we have to currently work our brain. Remember, when we were in school, whether it was high school, whether it was college, whether it's ongoing training or learning that we're doing in our professional careers, we're working the muscle. So anytime we can do that, it is to our best interest. And there's so many things out there these days with phones and apps, right? We could put all kinds of games on here that you can play at your leisure. And they're stimulating, whether they're mathematical, whether they're repetitious, whether they're eye and hand coordinating, it's still working the brain. So again, we're going to, as we go through, you'll see the format of how we're going to talk about it. But the first pillar is talking about learning. Then it's still in the first pillar, how to discover, challenge yourself. How do you do it, right? So I talked about games on your app, right? So that's one way of doing it. You're using a new instrument, whether it be technology or not, but it's a different tool in order to help challenge your brain. We've got some other things listed up here. Obviously, teaching classes, learning a new language or a skill. I wanted to learn the ukulele over the pandemic. A little harder when you're older than it is when you're younger. That can go with sports and other things as well, but it doesn't mean you can't learn it, right? It's just a matter of applying it and practice, 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 just like everything else we do in our life. Trying to learn new arts and crafts. I'll bet you we have some artisans in the room, whether we know it or not. And that is a great way to challenge yourself. And maybe you had an underlying art desire and you've just never explored it. Maybe this is the time to do it in your downtime, if we have any these days. Never too old to learn something new. And what was one of the beautiful things that came out of this pandemic? Now, I realized that the pandemic was horrible, but people got together. Families got together, right? They were doing board games more. They were having game night. It became a beautiful, if you had to get anything positive out of something negative, that was the beauty that I could see in there. So challenging your brain. Typically, we don't play board games all the time. We have families, we have life that happens. But if we can interject that into our day-to-day, it's a wonderful way to stimulate our brains again. So with that thought, I want to open it up to the room. How are you staying discovered in these pandemic times? Anyone? Just, I realize we're on mute and I know we're using the chat, but if anybody would like to perhaps share, I'd be more than open. I'm sure we'd all love to listen. So anyone want to raise their hand or anybody want to share what they might be doing? Unmute yourself.
I go on the internet and learn new things and started doing new hobbies because it's going to be a long winter.
There you go. That's a beautiful thing. That's where I was learning the ukulele. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Who else? Hey, Julie.
Hey, Mel. I thought that was you. I am teaching myself and taking online classes to learn mixed media. News.
Awesome.
Art. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. Who else? Rachel? Oh, Raquel, I'm sorry. You're on mute.
It's Rachel, you were right.
Okay, great.
I took years of Spanish, but I thought during the pandemic I could brush up and learn, reteach myself how to have conversations in Spanish. So I was learning that and
great.
reading a lot of different books. So I was doing that. So
Wonderful. And Spanish is so needed in today's society in a lot of jobs these days, second language. So that's wonderful. So see, I mean, you're keeping stimulated, you're keeping active, and that is very important in keeping your brain energized and moving and learning. So let's go back to the presentation. All right. One moment. There we go. All right. So now let's get into pillar 2. We talked about that in the beginning, or I mentioned it. It's connecting. So how important is that these days, right? Especially with the pandemic. All right. So very challenging, I must say. And I'm sure we've had to have some creative ways to do it. But staying engaged with family, friends, and the community is a must, right? Isolation is the worst. It can spiral you into depression and isolation, and that is the demon of all things out there. So, you know, you reach out to your neighbors, you reach out to your friends. Even though we have to be socially distanced, we just need to find a way to do it. And with technology these days, with Zoom and Skype and all the other platforms, whether it's a phone, a computer, an iPad, it doesn't matter. Staying connected in some way, shape is what you need to do, because socially engagement is a necessity in our brain health. Now, some of us are lucky enough we can have a pet. I happen to have 3. I can't say enough about having pets and the love that they give you. But if that's not your bag, when the pandemic gets better or we get beyond it, volunteering is another way to stay engaged. So that's how I got connected with ARP and the 50 Plus program. And it was just something that kept me busy while I was looking to start up my company. There's so many volunteer opportunities out there normally. Now, this is not a normal situation, but once we get past this, there are things that you can do. Whether it's a passion, whether it's a desire, whether it's working in the hospital, working for the pets, whether it's working for volunteering from your home. There's a lot more of that these days. So if it's something that you want to do now, you could explore those. But the point on this slide is you need to be socially engaged. You need to make sure that you have that stimulation. We are human beings that have to have connectivity. We were not born to be in isolation, and it's not natural for us. And again, still on that same pillar in connecting, it's getting involved. So, you know, whether it's now or not, getting involved in activities in your community, your children's sports, animal passions, arts passions. So for me, I have no children, but volunteering in children activities is a big activity for me, as well as pets. I'm sure that's the same for a lot of people out there. There are other folks that love doing the sports or the activities that their kids did when they were growing up, so they continue to do that by being a coach or an assistance coach. Now, I realize, again, we are in a weird year, a year that hopefully will be a blip on the radar and we'll get past all of this, but it doesn't hurt to start looking now. There are plenty of ways that you can do that by reaching out to your town hall or going on the internet and Googling, or ARP as an example, going onto their website. They have a great volunteering, arp.org volunteer site that you could look at what they're doing, whether it's socially distanced or not, because there are plenty of activities that can be done from your home. And then there are other community activities. There's the chambers that are out there. There are planning activities for your town, so your churches, etc. So anything that you could possibly do to, again, the key is staying connected, having a purpose, feeling like you're making a difference if that's what you choose to do. And it doesn't matter what age. I talk to kids as I mentor them about volunteering when they're young. I talk to adults when they're in their bridge of going into different careers about volunteering to find out what kind of companies they like. That could potentially turn into a career opportunity. I talk to people about passions and desires that they love and never had an opportunity to explore, but now they have time, and why not want to do it? Since they're living longer and they're healthy and they want to, you know, give back to their community. There is no time like this, the current time, to start anything. You're never too old. So, like we did in the first part, let's share some tips and things that we're doing in order to stay connected. I've shared a lot about me. Who would like to raise their hand? Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, Rachel,
I
sorry.
am volunteering at the Elks. I am an Elks member, and because you can't sit at the bar or whatever, I'm doing volunteering. So I'm getting their drinks, bringing them back to their table, cleaning the tables, disinfecting all the stuff, bringing them their food, and just, it's so nice because, like you said, I'm not isolated. I live alone. I have no children. So it's meant a great deal to me to
Yeah.
have this to do, even if it's once a week. It's been a great source of getting me out of the house and being with people, and it's really meant a lot. So that
Yep,
great.
I would agree. Julie, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I've been actually volunteering for years, and I sit on about 3 different boards in town, and I'm on the library friends group. So that in
You-
itself, that can be a 8-hour-a-day job sometimes.
Oh, I bet. In the library, I'm glad you brought that up. The library is the community, right? Just like the senior centers. But the library, a lot of people come in there. A lot of people are looking for help. It's a great way for the community to come in and share and, just have conversations or give workshops and share resources. So that's wonderful. Anyone else? No? Okay, don't be shy. I know that people are putting things in the chat, and that's wonderful. We do have people monitoring the chat, so thank you so much for doing that. So let's get
Yep.
back.
Actually, Melody, if I could just double check here. So on the
Absolutely.
chat, someone has started a food cupboard at church, delivering meals in the community through church and the COA.
That's great.
Someone's learning how to play the piano. So that's also great. We had 2 others actually that had chatted a bit about what they were doing something, for themselves. One was learning mixed media art, Pinterest, do your own projects. So all very interesting. So thank you for opening up the chat.
Oh, that's wonderful. And these are great ideas, and you never know. There may be other people on the line that might be interested in those things. So feel free to share your contact information in the chat. And at the end of this, if you know how to save it, you can save it into your computer, and I can walk you through how to do that. So then you'll have people's information. So let's get back to the presentation. Okay, pillar 3, moving. Just like the body, the brain has, physical activity has an impact on the brain, right? So the body, if we sat on the couch and became couch potatoes, we would get stiff, we would have aches and pains, worse than we probably already do. Right? Everything seizes up. Our body is not made to just sit around and do nothing. It will, all the liquids and fluids need to flow on a regular basis. And even though we don't know it's happening, it really is happening. That's the beauty of our body. I don't know if you've ever sat back and thought about how you heal and how it works, but it is an amazing tool. And again, we need to make it work, right? So activity every day if you can do it, but at least try to do 30 minutes, at least maybe 3 times a week, excuse me, would be great. It helps repair, as mentioned on the screen, repairs and protects the brain, increases circulation. It definitely does improve your sleep, helps reduce some of the diseases that are out there, such as depression, stroke, heart disease, and diabetes. And we've heard about this over and over and over throughout our life, whether it's on the TV, whether it's from our doctors, our parents, and it's true. And there's so many ways to be active these days. Now granted, we are in a pandemic, but that doesn't mean that you're housebound. Right? So you can walk around your neighborhood with a mask, without a mask, whatever. when things are open and we're able to do more and more, there's dancing and running and all the other things that are listed on the slide. You know, there are other types of activity that helps us that I'm sure all of us have done at one time or another, whether it was when we were in school and we were in gym class, whether it's going to exercise classes, whether it's running after your kids. Movement is the key to everything, right? So what have we talked about? We've talked about keeping stimulated, keeping that brain discovering and learning new things. We've talked about being connected with people and how we are stimulated that way and how we're not made to be isolated and alone and the negative things that that brings along if we do that. Now we're talking about movement and how we have to stay active. Doesn't mean we have to be, you know, gym rats, but it does mean we do have to put in some sort of activity in our life, be it small or big, whatever our fancy is. Now, again, very similar to the rest of it. What are people doing? What are people doing these days? Kimberly, I see the button going. Okay.
Hi there. Yeah, I've always been into physical fitness. So I work out 5 times a week. I have a treadmill, I have an elliptical, and I also do some just free weights. So that's important to me. And, you know, I think that's one of the reasons I'm so healthy in general is that I exercise. So I try to do that like 5 times a week at least.
That's great. One of the things I did notice, and one moment, Julie, is a lot of, or some of the health clubs did turn when we got into COVID and did a lot of online classes now, which may or may not be the ideal situation, but at least they're still offering a means to be able to be active. And I think that's a beautiful thing. What are you doing, Julie?
I walk everywhere. If it's
Okay.
local, close enough, I walk. And we have a beautiful bike path in Blackstone.
Oh yeah, the walking path and the bike path is awesome. Absolutely. Sue, were you going to say something? No? Anyone else?
I was just going to say, this is Sharon, just reading
Sharon?
some of the comments, people walking in the neighborhood with friends. Somebody bought an electric bike and walking a half hour every day, sort of setting goals and doing that. And I know at our COA, we're talking about opening up our full gym for walkers in the winter. Very limited numbers, but just to have that available.
Oh, that's a great idea. You know, it is true. I mean, winter coming, we're gonna have to start thinking about that. But these are great ways to keep moving and keep active. And again, the more you can do it, or at least keep it continual, you'll reap the benefits of that, both body, mind, and soul, I might add. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. All right, we're in pillar 4. So this is my favorite. This is about eating healthy. You know, I can't say enough about what you put in really affects everything else that's going on. You know, there's a lot of studies out there. There's a lot of doctors' reports about, you know, all the benefits of nuts, beans, grains, leafy greens, all of that. And to be honest with you, I truly believe it. And the only reason I say that is because I try to eat that way. And I can see the difference in me. Now, it's not for everybody, but if you can give it a try and try to eat healthier than perhaps you're doing today, and that might be by changing one thing, then that's a great start, right? If you're already eating healthy, fantastic. But if you're not and you're looking to try and make one change, trying to make one switch out from one of the things here on this list would be a great way to start. You know, salmon, fish, seafood, great means of protein and vitamins that you need. Nuts are easy, if you know, to sprinkle in salads, nuts and seeds. Beans are huge, a great way, great source, whether you buy them in the can or you're soaking them, which is really the best way to do it, but we don't all have those times. couple things that I'm going to throw out here, and we'll put them in the chat. I'm not here to promote the book, but what I'm going to say is if you can go to your library or you can find it online, there are a couple great books out there on food and the impact to your brain. So one of them is called Genius Foods, and it's becoming smarter, happier, and more productive while protecting your brain for life. Again, I'll put the author and the name of it out there for you, but this is a great book that I have in my arsenal with regard to brain health. Some great recipes in here and some great ideas and sources, especially if you get bored, right? So ways to mix it up. All right, another one, and bear with me, I am going to stop sharing for a second. And the other one is Power Foods for the Brain by Neil Bernard, MD. So that's 2 books with power foods, recipes, and things that are strictly for the brain. And then another one called Rebuild, Dr. Robert Zembrowski. And I have that in there because I have that book as well. It's a great book to help you if you've been ill, has some great recipes in there, great healthy eating, organic eating. So again, the 3 of them together can give you some great ideas, some great meals, and just give you maybe some starting points on how to change your diet, okay? Diet means a lot. Great greens, kale, spinach, broccoli. Love them. They're like the holy grail of the greens, right? We're getting into winter, so collards and all of that are going to be great for stews, but that's a great way to get that vitamin into you. Whole berries, love them on your cereal, love them in smoothies. You can do frozen, but the berries, the antioxidants are, you know, to die for, and we need them, both in our brain, our guts, everything. Again, great herbals, ways to spice up your food with the vinegars, lemons, herbs. Talked about the seafood before. Salmon and sardines are a great way to get that into your system, and nuts and almonds, huge. Now, again, if you can make one baby change, that's a starting point. And then you might see if you sustain it, you like it, you see it's not hard, then maybe you make another change and another change. And eventually the next thing you know, you're eating pretty healthy. Eliminating processed foods, all right? They're the worst things for us. Now, I'm not gonna go off of my tangent and my high horse, all right? However, let's think about it. Processed foods has chemicals in it. The chemicals are to sustain them and keep them longer. Our bodies are not made to have chemicals put into us like that. So they either stop things from working or they affect things by making them work oddly. If you can eliminate processed foods, why wouldn't we do that? Now I realize we don't have a lot of time like we used to back generations ago, and that's why processed foods have come into play. But if we're trying to stay healthy and trying to prevent diseases, I say let's prevent the chemicals going into our systems and start that way, as well as staying connected, being active, and keeping ourselves stimulated. Real good example. I can tell you for a fact that dyes have a huge impact on your body as well. I'll speak for myself. Black dye, red dye, and any foods. Horrible, effects on my system, and I know it because when I don't have them, I don't have that problem, right? And when I put them back in, I have the problem. So we've diagnosed that I am probably a lot of millions of other Americans have a problem with chemicals, and dyes is just one of them. So, again, if the cleaner we eat, the healthier we are, the healthier our output's going to be, and our body. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are you guys doing to try and stay healthy? If anything, maybe you are already healthy and you can share some wisdom with all of us. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are weeks where I do eat healthy and good, and then there are weeks where I don't. But I always feel better when, I make my own salad dressing with fresh ingredients, the yogurt instead of mayonnaise, and have I love arugula and all that. So I make a nice salad, put some protein on it. But I'm not always that good. But when I do, I feel much better, and I wish I could just be consistent doing that. But I try to incorporate something good in each day. So
that's all you can do, and you recognize it, right? So you notice the difference, and like anything, it's habit and routine, and it's really changing your whole process. I mean, for some people, it's really making every meal, taking everything with them, and it can become time consuming. Absolutely. What is other people doing? There's a lot of things in the chat, I think.
I had salmon for lunch.
Very good. Very good. Even maybe one salad a day or a couple salads a week as a change can be a great start. Making your own dressings is another easy start because it's small, doesn't take a lot of ingredients. And typically they're the ingredients we already have in our pantry. You'd be surprised how many chemicals and things are in already made dressing. And if you look at the calorie count, you can make it a lot cheaper and healthier. Yep. Sometimes just changing out and putting some seasoning on your food makes a big difference. Getting rid of all those, added gravies and sauces. When you eat out, ask for things on the side, perhaps, so that you're not getting everything drowned in it, and you can control it if you want to put it on, as opposed to them doing it. That's a little trick. Believe it or not, making your own ketchup is not that hard either. Ketchup is got a lot of sugar in it. If you think about the calorie, looking at it, and it's not that hard to whip it up, just like a salad dressing. So again, little tips, little techniques, the books have them. We all sometimes do them and we know them. It's just about being reminded of it and sustaining it, right? Like anything, we can fall off the wagon, but don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on the wagon, or have a partner to help you get back on that wagon. Sometimes that's an easy way to do it. All right, let's go back to the presentation. So this is pillar 5, right? And this is key to anything. And how many times have we been asked, how many hours of sleep do you get, right? We all don't get enough sleep. We all know that. Mothers, teachers, people working, taking care of our parents, perhaps. If back in the day when I was in corporate, I was traveling all the time. So in hotels, it just didn't promote good regular sleep. So getting enough sleep, at least 7 hours if you can do it, is really ideal for everybody. More if you need it, less, but 7 really is I think, good, my opinion. Making sure that if you do caffeine, that you don't do it too close to nighttime. Again, common sense. And then reducing light in the rooms that you're sleeping in, because that can have an impact on that, and also the temperature have a huge impact on your sleeping habits. Taking time out to reduce stress. Well, I can't say that enough. There is so much stress and anxiety in our lives, and maybe even more so now with the pandemic and everything that's going on with homeschooling, and maybe taking care of our grandchildren because our kids have to work and they have to, go to school at home. A number of things are causing stress and anxiety, but again, exercise can help you with that. So even if you could just get in, maybe start out with 5 minutes, build it up to maybe 15 minutes, reward yourself if you get 30 minutes in, but the goal is to start out with bite-sized chunks, little baby steps, and build it up to where you can sustain it without injuring yourself. You know, another way to reduce stress is to meditate. Now, I know that's not for everybody, but that is a good way to calm the mind and get it to relax. And you can do that by breathing and just focusing and having no stimulation around. It can really de-stress you. Breathing can help de-stress you. Yoga and Tai Chi. I remember when I was at the senior center doing the 50 plus workshop, I would always hear the ladies next door doing their Tai Chi. It was great. You know, they're yelling, they're getting it out. You can tell that they're getting their stress out. It's a wonderful thing. And then, of course, the last bullet on here, well, how many times have we said a deep, deep, deep belly laugh where maybe you got tears coming down your face? Doesn't that always make us feel great? Come on, it does. It is the best feeling in the world. So if you can laugh and smile or have a nice deep laugh with your friends and family, do it. I would highly recommend it. So still on the 5 pillars, again, we talked about, you know, in the bedroom, going back to the bedroom. You know, another thing besides light is obviously electronic devices. They say the blue light is not good for you. You're best to have it outside your room. Again, I mentioned the temperature in there. Keeping it cooler is a good idea and suggestion. We talked about eating well. We'll try not to eat too close to dinner, to sleeping, because that can sometimes disrupt your sleep habits. But eating well has a good impact on your stress. Exercising, we talked about, laughing, etc. So what are you guys doing for stress relief? How are you relaxing? Are you playing? How are you dealing with the time that you have during COVID? What are you doing? Are you Zooming? Are you binge watching? How are you de-stressing? Go ahead.
I've definitely done a lot of binge watching.
Yeah.
I do enjoy my glass of wine
Sure.
while I'm binge watching. I certainly exercise. I do Zoom, although I do not enjoy it at all. And I do see friends and family. So
Great.
I do.
Great. Again, as long as we're socially distanced, we can still see friends and family, right? You know, I'm not telling you guys what to do, but how many times did I see people in the parking lot, you know, facing each other, having coffee or talking? I mean, that's a beautiful thing. They're still connecting, they're still seeing each other, just not as close as they were before. So what else is everybody doing? So I'll share with you, I have a second business besides my HR business. I do weddings. I have a wedding business and I'm an ordained minister. So for me, it makes me happy when I marry people, you know, and everyone thought, oh, I'd be impacted by yeah, I was. Some people put their weddings off, but there were still people that move forward with their weddings. Love rules, right? We found a way to do it and there was no reason why we shouldn't. So for me, that's a beautiful thing. It brings my anxiety down, it de-stresses me, and I just love being part of people's new beginnings. Besides the standard walking and besides being with my dogs and my husband, but that's one of the ways I do it. Anyone else want to share?
Someone mentioned that they play games.
Yes.
And for myself, I unplug. I try not to watch news 24/7.
Ooh, that's a good idea, Sharon.
I don't mind reading it, but for some odd reason, TV watching doesn't help.
Nah, I would recommend, no news. No news.
Somebody mentioned they work in my happy planner. I don't know what that is. I'd be curious. What is a happy planner?
Does anyone want to share what that is? No?
You can unmute your microphone.
Oh, it's a planning system, Julie.
Planning system, and you decorate the pages with you can buy stickers and you can change the pages, put in note paper. They make oodles of stickers. I think I have about 60 books of stickers.
So it changes your mood. Yeah, I love it.
It's fun.
It's your creative art coming out.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's de-stressing. I know I used to color adult coloring books. It was a great way to de-stress and get your mind off of what was going on in society. Go ahead, Rachel.
I like to cook.
Yes.
That really distresses me. Like, I love watching the Food Network, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to the grocery store, and then I'm like, well, who can I give this to? Because I make so much, like a soup, now that it's coming. With
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's great.
I freeze a lot, but that really de-stresses me big time. I love to cook.
Good. Well, I mean, great ideas on here. And I know that there's a whole bunch of other creative people on here. You're just shy and don't want to share, but that's okay. Let's go back to the presentation. Right, moving right along. So I talked about breathing, right? So breathing, deep breathing can absolutely have an impact on your body in any stressful type of situation. So whether you're just trying to clear your mind, and so you're sitting at your desk, you're clearing your mind of thoughts, with a guided meditation or a guided breathing exercise, and which I do in my workshops, we could just do it on a count, and then, typically it would be, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, breathe out, 1, 2, 3, breathe in, not that fast, but a little slower. And you do that for about a count of 5 or 6. And really that slow, focused breathing can certainly de-stress and bring that anxiety down. Oh, a tremendous amount. I've noticed that, if I'm nervous before I give a presentation, I might just take this activity and go take a walk and just focus on my breathing. And then the next thing you know, I'm ready to tackle that presentation with people. So it just gives you an opportunity to center yourself, really clear your mind, and be able to forge ahead with whatever you're trying to do. So I would recommend it. And if you haven't tried it, there's plenty of apps out there that can do that are free, that can help you do a guided meditation. So brain health risks, right? So if we don't get everything in order, there's a lot of things that are listed here, plus numerous others that can have an effect on our brain, right? So not getting enough sleep, not being connected, being in isolation, not eating right, not exercising, and maybe doing some of these other things, smoking or heavy drinking. All of that can lead to depression and heart disease and, sometimes hearing and vision loss, depending on what's going on. And certain medications can be affected by what's going on in your physically, as well as what's going on in your body. So again, we want to try and eliminate the risks and remove the threats so that we can try and prolong that healthy brain, or try and change the brain and make it more healthy. So we just start with baby steps if we can do it, because we can't tackle everything at once. It would be overwhelming and perhaps daunting enough that you would slip back. So if you just take one little baby step, interchange one little change, over time, everything is sustained, but over time, you will reap those benefits. Hey, any small change is a benefit these days, right? So why wouldn't we want it? Why wouldn't we want it? And eventually strive for the big changes. So how do we improve our memory, right? So throughout this whole presentation, we talked about a number of different things, but paying attention, right? So improving memory, paying attention, taking notes. I always take notes. They say don't multitask. I have a habit of doing that, which is not good because of time, but avoiding multitasking can help your mind focus on the one thing as opposed to trying to split itself and think of multiple things. If you keep a routine. So one of the things that I tell people when they lose their jobs or are in between a transition is keep your routine, right? Because that can help people through the journey. So similar here, keep a routine. It helps with your memory, right? It helps keep you stimulated, right? You know, if you start changing things up, then sometimes that can do some wacky things. Take breaks. We do have to take breaks. I know we didn't take one today, but it's only been an hour. If we were going on to 2, we'd be taking a break in between. The brain can only take in so much at once. The body needs a break. You need to stretch. You need to, again, work it, but you gotta take a break and relax it at the same time, which is why you have that relax pillar that's in there, because it needs to sleep at night and decompress so that it can rejuvenate the cells and do what it needs to do while we're sleeping so that we'll be fresh when we wake up the next day. And again, I told you I take notes, but there's other ways. Calendars, there's the planners, there's reminders, there's alarms. There's plenty of things that we can use nowadays to help us improve our memory. You know, best thing is to write it down, have a little notebook and pad with you, but there are a lot of technical devices out there too that makes life so much easier. So, quick things that you can do to boost your brain, right? You know, again, a morning walk, right? Upon waking, you know, have some physical activity, you know, watch what you eat in the morning, you know, have a healthy lunch, you know, start taking one of these times on the screen, whether it's morning, lunch, afternoon, evening, whatever is best for you, and start taking some steps to improve your brain health, whether it's physical activity, whether it's getting out and being social with somebody, whether it's going to bed earlier because you need to decompress. You know what you need. Maybe do it with your partner to make it fun and exciting, make it a game. Who knows, whatever works for you. But take one of these little areas, make a plan on what you want to try and change, and implement it. Again, what can you do to start? As I've already mentioned a couple times, you can just start by picking something small. Take some baby steps. You know, whether it's a 10-minute walk, it's adding in some vegetables, it's changing something out of your diet that's not healthy, that you really love. Not to say deprive yourself. What I'm saying is sometimes too much of a good thing is too much. So you know, you manage it, right? Give yourself little bits and pieces of the good stuff. Again, take an appointment, what I mean by that appointment bullet is you got to have a baseline to start with, right? So maybe you might want to make an appointment if you're not already doing it and get an exam to see where you're starting with. Sometimes it's a good thing so that you can focus on what you want to work on. Again, put a plan together by writing it down, talking it over with your husband, your spouse, your partner, whomever you're with. Get support from your family and friends, make it a game. Sometimes that's the best way. Reward yourself at Christmas or whatever time, reward yourself at little milestones, little goals that you've achieved. There's nothing wrong with a little celebration once in a while. Here's some great resources that you could access if you want. So you can get AARP Brain Health and have that come automatically as an email. There's a lot of great things in there. It's free. So why not have it come in? There's also the Learn at 50 Plus. So again, games, workshops, events, learning type activities. I don't know what the average age is here, and that's irrelevant. I just want to share another resources. If you're 60 and over, 60, 62, we'll have to look into it. Free university, go back to school, get your degree for nothing. If you're not doing anything and you want to, there would be fees for like books and stuff, but you don't pay for tuition, which is a beautiful thing if you want to go back. Personally, I don't want to go back. A master's is enough, but at a point, you never know. Somebody might want to do that and start learning something brand spanking new. The point to this slide is there's resources out there for you. Look into them. And don't forget those apps that you can get on your phones if you have smartphones. Again, that's an easy way just to stimulate your brain. Stay connected with people by playing games. Family, friends, doesn't have to be strangers. Reading, as some other people mentioned as well, is a great way to do it. Cooking, all kinds of things. That aside, that is the end of the presentation. I do want to open this up again and see if there is anything else that other folks would like to share. Anything else that you do that you think others might, be interested in. We're here as a group of folks that are learning, and we'd like to know if there's anything else out there. And I can answer any questions that you might have. Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh.
Sharon? No one?
Somebody had raised their hand. I'm sorry, I missed.
That's okay.
Is it Wingate? I'm sorry, what's your
Yeah.
first name?
I just wanted to say this was a fabulous presentation. I got a lot of information and it was great to see you, Mel.
Oh, thanks, Julie. It was great to see you as well. Again, a lot of this is probably things you're already doing, right? And sometimes we forget. So we forget the importance of it, or we need to be reminded of it, or maybe we can get other ideas of ways to do it, right? But really, guys, the 5 things that is what I said in the beginning, right? Make sure you're staying engaged and learning. Make sure you stay connected with your folks. Don't be isolated. That's the worst thing right now. And there's a lot of activity going on in ARP and other avenues about isolation and the detriment of it to people. Make sure that you are moving. Make sure you're eating right. And Lord, make sure you relax and get de-stressed. Okay? Mind, body, and soul, folks. All right. Thank you. It was wonderful. So if people got connected and they want to save the chat, at the bottom of the chat where it has the folder, there's 3 buttons next to it. If you click on the 3 buttons, you can save the chat conversation. I don't know if you want to. I'm just sharing.
Thank you so much. You were wonderful. I enjoyed your topic, and it was very enlightening. So thank you very, very much.
Oh, you're welcome very much. And again, just real quick, I didn't say this, but if you want to reach me, you can reach me at Melody, that's MELODY, at melodybeachconsulting.com. All right. Well, it was a pleasure spending an hour with you guys. I really appreciate it. So thank you for having me. I will talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.